That one had one of the best lead performances in any horror film I have seen this year. I love that one.
Vincent Price beef. And I thought, is this like Jimmy Dean pure pork sausage? Not only do you have to get the 10, and then you got to put them in order.
Yeah.
And this time, I think I only ended up with one black eye as we hash these out. Welcome back, Fright Clubbers. Glad to see you.
Hello.
It's been a minute, as they say. I don't think we've done a Fright Club Live here since September.
Right, since OHIO.
Yeah, on Facebook Live. And then we were back at Gateway in October.
Yeah.
And now we're back here.
We
and
are.
glad to do it. The end of the year. I think we've pretty much all been waiting for the end of the year. But we're going to talk about some good things that happened this year, and they've been few and far between. But we've got a bunch of good horror movies to talk about. Hope you're going to chime in as well. Welcome. This is the Fright Club podcast, and she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And we're from madwolf.com. And first of all, we just want to thank everybody that has been watching and commenting on our first Mad Wolf production, written and directed by Hope Madden, called Godspeed.
That's right. UK Film Channel is streaming it right now. You can go watch it there. It is online. You can also go to we have a pinned tweet, and it's also on Facebook if you just want a direct link to it. So go, please, watch it.
8.5 minutes of horror, fun, chock full of profanity.
That's right.
How can you go wrong with that, really?
Yeah.
So, no, thanks again. Appreciate that. And just here in the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we got some other great news about the next
right.
Mad Wolf production script just became a finalist.
No, the short.
The short. Oh, I thought it was just a script.
No, the Obstacle Corpse
See?
short, which is
That's
the
even
second
better.
the second one that we filmed. The Obstacle Corpse short is a finalist in the 13horror.com film festival. We just found that out today.
Nice. So that is fun stuff.
It
so
is.
again, appreciate all your comments about that, and watch it. Godspeed. It's as Hope said. It's pinned tweet at Mad Wolf on Twitter. So. Talking about previous Fright Clubs, the last time we got together on a podcast, we talked. Well, we had our special guest on, our man from the future, Corey Metcalf, and we talked about. This was his idea, right? We talked about most ingenious evil planners.
Yes. And it was a lot of fun, and we got some, even before he listened to it, Jamie Ray from Fave 5 from Fans was already peeved with us.
That's always good. When someone's mad before they listen, you're doing something right.
If Dr. Five, the abominable Dr. Fives isn't on there, I'm going to show up with a pitchfork and torches. And I was like,
okay.
Uh-oh.
So that's what that means, because I'm looking at my notes, and you had written down Vincent Price beef. And I thought, is this like Jimmy Dean pure pork sausage? No, now I understand.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Vincent Price
because
beef.
not only could we easily have had we could have had the sequel as well, and we could have had Theater of Blood, which is another great Vincent Price movie where he plots a lot of different people's deaths. And then speaking of Vincent Price, so Phantom Dark Dave listened to the Voices one a little late, and he wants to also agree with everybody else who was pissed off that we didn't have Vincent Price on that podcast. I know, we're leaving him out.
Okay.
We're leaving him out. And you know who I
Sorry.
thought of today? Could have been on the Voices one, Tim Curry.
Oh,
I don't know how.
Yes.
I know. I think he was my first ever voice crush.
Wow.
I don't know how I didn't do it.
By the way, Rachel says congratulations on the short film finalist
Thank
award.
you.
So thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Krista Lively Stoffer says that Kat McAlpine is a hottie, and she's correct. Kat
Oh,
McAlpine.
Kat is the star. If you didn't know,
She's a star, actually, both of them.
Our friend Kat McAlpine is really a one-woman show in Godspeed,
Yeah,
and she is fantastic.
She's so
yes,
good.
Krista, you are exactly right. It's so great to see everybody popping up on there. Man, we've missed y'all. Glad to be back as we're talking about the best horror of 2020. Some of these are bigger movies. Some of these are smaller movies. But we want to make sure maybe ones that you haven't heard of, maybe you get a chance to get familiar with tonight. So we've got 10 that we settled on. But before we get to the 10, we want to just give some love to movies that we liked a lot.
Yes.
Just didn't make it into the top 10, but
Yes.
these are goodies.
They're great.
These are goodies. And we'll start off with one that we've liked for a couple years, really, since seeing it at Nightmares Film Festival, back when it was called Reckoning. Now it's called The Devil to Pay, and we love it.
And the only reason that it's not on this top 10 is because it was on our top 10 last year,
Right.
because we saw it a year ago when it was in the festival circuit. So
Right.
that's the only reason it's not here, because we feel like it can't be on 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it, you must. You must see it. Devil to Pay.
Also, Rent-A-Pal.
Too many people missed out on that one. I loved Rent-A-Pal. Get Duked. How much fun was that?
Get Duked.
Oh my God.
With an exclamation point in the
that
title,
was-
and it deserves it because that is
It's just-
hilarious.
You know what? It's just going to make you happy. It's going to make you happy if you haven't seen it.
And I know a lot of people loved. Everybody that I saw that I noticed had seen this loved Blood Quantum.
I think it was the best Netflix original that I've seen.
That was a good one. And of course, The Invisible Man.
Oh yeah,
The
loved
great,
it.
the
And
great Elizabeth F.
Elizabeth.
Moss.
Yeah. No, right now people are like, so that's not on the final list. Right now people are going.
It's not, but it's good.
It is. It's so good.
And by the
It's
way,
so
one
good.
of the things we're working on for 2021 is a list of everybody that we have given the F
That's
middle
right.
initial
That's
to.
right.
But Elizabeth Moss
Yeah,
is on
Elizabeth,
there. Elizabeth
clearly.
F. Moss.
Obviously.
We've already decided that Tom Hanks doesn't count because
he's a GD national
he's GD
treasure.
national treasure.
There's only so many obscenity
Right.
letters we can add to somebody's name.
Yeah, but we're working on that F list for 2021. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We also loved Relic.
Oh, we did love Relic, and we got to talk to Natalie James. It was such one of the great pleasures
part
of
of Nightmares,
Film
yeah.
Festivals. We got to talk with her, do a little interview with her about
Great.
making her first feature. It was so good.
Great
Relic
movie.
was so good.
Also, Amulet.
It's another one, a first feature from a female director. It was super creepy. Loved Amulet. Yeah, give that one a look if you haven't. The Host, right? Everybody loved that Zoom one.
Yeah.
The Zoom call of
Yeah.
horror. That was great. That was super fun.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the year to really get scared by the Zoom calls. La Llorona.
Oh, it's another really good one, and so much better than The Curse of La Llorona. It was really, really good. I loved that one.
Lose the Flower of Evil. I know you like that one a lot.
I did like that a lot. Very creepy. Really, really nice.
Also, Swerve.
Yeah, and you know what? That one had one of the best lead performances in any horror film I have seen this year. I love that one. One Bedroom.
One Bedroom.
That was a
yeah.
great one that we saw at Nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. I know a lot of people like that. Anything for Jackson. Yeah.
That was so good and so much better than the tagline. Don't even read the tagline. Just go watch the movie. It's really lovely and well done.
And also the movie from our friend George Popoff, who was a guest on Fright Club a
That's
few
right.
months ago, The Droving.
The Droving. And if you're just watch Hex too. That was his first film from a couple of years ago. Both great.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's just a quick trip.
So there's been a bunch. Right there is a good list, and we haven't even gotten into our top 10 of the year. But these are good ones too, and it took a while to really to hash out this
It did.
list. I think because
It did. As
these
it
are
always
solid.
does.
Not only do you have to get the 10, and then you got to put them in order.
Yeah.
And this time, I think I only ended up with one black eye. As we hash these out. But let's start right in. This is a refugee couple making a harrowing escape from war-torn South Sudan. But then they struggle to adjust to their new life in an English town that has an evil lurking beneath the surface. This is his house.
Congratulations. You're being released as asylum seekers, not as citizens, not yet. You will be sent to a home of our choosing.
I saw something in the dark. You have felt it too. This is what they want. They like to see us crazy. Let them send us back. You don't wonder what it tells me. It says I should be afraid of you.
Yeah, everybody's chiming in. They love that film. We so agree. And it's funny, just about a half an hour ago, I was finishing up my nominations for the Columbus Film Critics Association this year, and one of the categories is Breakout Star, and Wunmi Musaku was one of my nominations. She is the female lead in this. You probably recognize her from Lovecraft
God,
Country.
she was Ruby.
She is fantastic.
She's so great.
She's fantastic. And this
She's so
movie...
great.
Yeah, I agree with some of the comments. I think Brandon said it gutted him. It's not that I wasn't expecting much from this movie, but I wasn't expecting the punch that it landed at the end.
Yeah, because there are a lot. It's a ghost story, and it's a story about guilt, and it's definitely a story about global politics. I mean, it does so much, and does it in a way that, yeah, like you said, you're just not expecting. You're just not expecting, and it's about forgiveness and not forgiving yourself, and living with guilt, and a kind of guilt that comes from this type of crisis that the vast majority of human beings are never going to understand. We'll
Yeah.
never be able to grasp it.
And the male lead is Sophie Dirisu. I hope I pronounced that right. The two of them together are fantastic.
Yeah,
and
Remy Weeks wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
It was just,
and the
brilliantly
slow
done.
dread, and then the metaphor that they use with the house, and the fact that I love that where they mentioned at the beginning, this house is all just for us. Yeah, and there's a reason for that, and it was just so effective. And that is our number 10 best horror of 2020. Netflix's His House. Moving up to number 9, Amy thinks she's dying tomorrow, and it's contagious. This is She Dies Tomorrow.
What is going on?
There is no tomorrow for me.
All right, listen, Amy, I'm really freaking out right now. I feel like you put this idea of dying in my head. Can you just call me back?
She could be right.
What? Something really bad is gonna happen.
I'm ready.
She did this.
I'm not ready.
This was such a fascinating concept for a movie. I mean, this is like maybe the most novel apocalyptic films I've seen maybe ever, certainly in years. I mean, it was just a fascinating premise and made sense to me that, I mean, I love this idea. We have a lot of times in horror films the notion of contagion, but this is just the idea that I'm going to die tomorrow. And then what everybody does once they've decided that it's true for them individually. I just thought it was absolutely fascinating.
Reminded me a little bit the device of contagion, sort of like It Follows, where you just give it to somebody else. And this was written and directed by Amy Steinmetz.
Oh, she's so good.
Who had a great year. I don't know how many people saw Arch Enemy.
Yeah.
But she has a small but very important role in Arch Enemy.
Yeah, she does.
And then she wrote and directed this. And of course, Jane Addams is always great. Chris Messina
He's good in this.
is always
He's really
good too.
in
So
this,
this is good. And I think maybe one that not as many people saw, maybe. But definitely worth checking out in 2021 if you can. She Dies Tomorrow, number 9.
You know what? Before we jump to the next one, we want to thank Gateway Film Center, who is also broadcasting this live via Facebook. And we love you and we miss you.
Yeah, so if you're watching on Mad Wolf Columbus Facebook or Gateway Film Center Facebook, thank you. Yes, we do miss you. Cannot wait to get back to Gateway Film Center as soon as we can. But for now, we're counting down. We're moving on. Top 10 of 2020 horror flicks. Number 8. A long time ago, in a distant fairy tale countryside, a young girl leads her little brother into a dark wood in desperate search of food and work, only to stumble upon a nexus of terrifying evil. Gretel and Hansel.
Tell me the fairy tale again.
It's too scary, start seeing things that aren't there. I'm hungry.
I'm hungrier than you are.
Because you're a pig.
Look! It smells of cake!
Careful with that, dear. I'd hate for you to start something you can't stop.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. I'm called Gretel, and this rough one here is my brother Hansel. There's something wrong here.
But it's so pleasant.
Where are all the animals? From where does she draw milk?
Delicious.
This was one that I had to go back and make sure. This seemed like last year to me. Shows you how long this year has been. This was at the very beginning of the year. And it's also one, when I was filling out my nominations here a little bit ago, I nominated this for among the best cinematography of the year. It looks glorious.
Yeah, it really does. So it's Oz Perkins who did Blackcoat's Daughter, which made our list the year that it came out.
And The
also,
Pretty Thing.
I'm the Pretty Thing Lives in the House. And he's got such a brilliant way with visual storytelling. And I think that it just really suited this story just amazingly. It's so gorgeous and creepy to look at. And it's just really 3 performances.
Yeah.
Sophia Lillis,
Lillis.
I knew that was wrong. Sophia Lillis from It. Little redhead.
And she has had a great year, too, because
year.
if you haven't seen a movie called Uncle Frank, it's not a horror movie.
No.
It's really enjoyable, fantastic ensemble, and she is great. So she's had a really good year. She's got a future.
Yeah, she does. And she's great in this movie. And it's such a fascinating turn of events, like a fascinating way that they flipped the script on this fairy tale. I just loved it.
obviously by putting Gretel first, you get an idea, if you haven't seen it, what they're going to do with the story.
Yeah.
And that is what they do with the story from a different point of view. And who am I from? Oh, Alice Krige,
Oh yeah.
who plays the kindly witch, who's maybe not so kindly.
Alice Krige and her cheekbones. She's
Yeah,
the coolest.
She is
She's
fantastic.
just the coolest.
And and that's part of the fun of the movie, because Hansel, he's loving it because he gets all that he wants to eat, and he thinks, why do we want to leave? But Gretel knows something's up.
But then, as soon as she starts to figure out that she gets stronger, she's learning things. There's good reason for her to be here that's beyond food. Then Hansel's like, no, something bad's going on here. There's something wrong. Yeah, it's a really fascinating film, and it's just like you said, it's so beautifully shot.
Yeah, and Brandon, that's a good point. It does remind you of Robert Eggers visually telling a story, because visual storytelling is such an important part of what is obviously a visual medium, movies. And so far, in just 3 films in, Oz Perkins can do it.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one that's worthy of the list, and that's why it is number 8, Gretel and Hansel, for Fright Club 2020. Moving up to number 7, a girl born into an all-female cult led by a man in their compound begins to question his teachings and her own reality. It's The Other Land.
Let us pray. My wives, you all came to me broken by a cruel world. I took every one of you in. I sacrificed my life for you. I gave you daughters and sisterhood and life. Let us reflect on our blessings.
You think that because you haven't had your time yet, that makes you special. Prepare yourself, child. Our great shepherd won't be so sweet on you then. I'll be seeing you when the blood comes to you.
Yeah, Katie, you're absolutely right. This movie was gorgeous. Another one where the cinematography just pops off the screen. And it's another bit of a slow burn type of movie, and it's another movie that has a lot to do with female empowerment and based around a very specific time in life that other horror movies, plenty of horror movies, have centered on, but this one in a bit of a different way, I think.
Actually, it's interesting because back to back in both films, the lead character gets her period, and in both films, it's a moment of empowerment, which is the opposite of what you tend to see in horror films. I mean, there's an entire cottage industry of movies that are hysterical about the burgeoning female adulthood, and this one just loves it. It's a really fierce movie, and Raffi Cassidy is the star. She was so good in Killing of a Sacred Deer, and she's really perfect for this. She's so lovely. She's so painting quality lovely, but at the same time, she manages to kind of turn that into something almost ferocious looking. Mm-hmm. It's a fascinating movie and utterly gorgeous.
And it's it uses that twist of being fearful of female sexuality that other movies have used, because the older, I think we might have seen it in the trailer, the older woman in the cult is sort of warning her about what's to come, and you won't be so high and mighty when things change for you. And I love that it gave it that different little twist, and certainly a different outcome by the time it gets to the end.
Yeah, I think the way that it reconsiders cults and cult movies, and the way that it doesn't explain what it's doing, that it doesn't give you much of a backstory. It just drops you into this story that's, as it's unfolding, is just, it's like hypnotic.
Yeah, and the director is, if I didn't pronounce this one,
Małgorzata Szymowska.
Nice.
I stumbled a bit.
Nicely done. And it looks fantastic. It's great storytelling and visual storytelling as well.
Yeah.
And that is number 7 on our list of best horror of 2020. Moving up to number 6. This is another one that we've been talking about for a while since we first saw it. Premiered at Gateway Film Center for Nightmares Film Festival. This is a soon-to-be stepmom. She snowed in with her fiancé's 2 children at a remote holiday village, and just as relations begin to thaw between the trio, some strange and frightening events take place. The Lodge.
How would you feel about going to the mountains for Christmas with Grace? She really wants to get to know you guys. You okay? I don't want to leave you here with the kids if you're not feeling up to it.
I'm feeling fine. It was my idea, and it's a couple days. I can do a couple days.
What has happened?
It's Grace.
Everyone committed suicide except for her.
Repent, and you will find salvation.
Guys! Things are very uncomfortable between us, and we're stuck in a house together. What is this? The power's out. Where are my things? It makes no sense. What?
I heard something.
Repent. Repent your sins.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago at Nightmares Film Festival,
Oh my God,
we were
yeah.
so excited to watch this, and boy, it definitely fulfilled all the expectations. And Drake Manpower, if that is your real name, says the kids are shitty. You know what? The kids have nothing on that clueless dad.
That's right. Yeah, that dad. He's the
Oh
dumbest
my God.
dumbass of all time.
The dumbest dumbass. And a great cast here. Love always seeing Jaden Martell.
I love him so much.
And,
I love him so much.
Yeah, and Riley Keough is pretty much the lead, who has some. She's got some problems in her past that come to fruition.
Yeah,
here in this movie, In the Snow.
It is the same filmmakers who did Goodnight Mommy, and
Yeah.
so as several people have pointed out, they don't have a very high opinion of children. They're afraid of children, and who isn't? That's just good thinking. But and this is another one where weird things happen that you just don't expect to happen. And it's such that last scene. What a gut punch.
Yeah.
It really wasn't what I was expecting. It looked great, and I loved, one of my favorite things about it was the way it was so referential of every other snowbound horror film you've ever seen, right? They're watching The Thing on TV. They're clear notes to The Shining. I mean, there's just, the whole movie is just really, really well thought out.
Yeah, it is. And they do a good job, as all those movies do when you're snowed in, to get that claustrophobic nature, the nature that you're trapped. There's nowhere to go. I mean, there's snow everywhere. And, of course, clueless dad takes off and just leaves them alone. And it's very creepy.
It is
very, very creepy.
Before we move on, we do have to point out their Thanksgiving tradition was super weird. Like the decorations, they're eating outdoors. The whole thing was odd.
Yeah,
it was odd.
Yeah, odd and creepy.
Yeah.
And good performances all the way around and good direction. Yeah, the Goodnight Mommy people, no matter what they think of the kids, that was effective.
right.
And that is number 6 on our list of best horror of 2020. That is The Lodge.
That's right.
Moving up to the top 5 now, into the top
Speaking of
5.
creepy, oh my God.
On a secluded farm in a nondescript rural town, a man is slowly dying. His family gathers to mourn, and soon a darkness grows, marked by waking nightmares and a growing sense that something evil is taking over the family, the dark and the wicked.
There are things in this world, horrible things, wicked, and they come for whoever they want.
I saw something.
She wasn't crazy.
Do you smell him? He's close now.
He's not out there. He's already here.
Oh,
Ryan Bertino.
Yeah. If you don't know that name, he did The
So
Strangers.
Happy to have him back. He also did The Monster a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But The Strangers, that's really what it was. The Strangers. Oh my God. This movie is incredibly creepy. And it's set on a goat farm, which was, I don't think I've ever watched a scary movie set on a goat farm, and they really all ought to be. Because goats, it's the thing, it's all these tiny baby goats, and they seem so adorable and also fiendish at the same time.
Could you count The Witch as a goat farm? There was one.
Oh, there was one.
There was one
yeah.
goat.
There was one goat. We've got a whole podcast started now. Goats.
This was one that I definitely, once it was out and people started to see it, boy, there was a lot of buzz. I saw a lot of people digging this movie.
It was really scary. It was really dark. It was really well told, and it's one of those things because one of the things about Brian Bertino is he just doesn't let you off the hook. You watch the movie and you keep hoping he's going to, and he's like, no. So, and it's scary outside. It's scary inside. There's no getting away from the scary. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this
And
one.
he's got a way with some visual, I don't want to say tricks, but he's got a bag of visuals that definitely are creepy. Even if it's just the way he frames one singular character. I remember that one scene in The Strangers when the one masked perpetrator is just standing back there. And it was just creepy just looking at that. And that type of way they're framing these creepy people just kind of makes your blood run cold.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about it.
So The Dark and the Wicked is number 5 on our list. Best horror of 2020, moving up to number 4. This one is a little more recent. Oh, we love this so much. Terror grips a small mountain town as bodies are discovered after each full moon. Losing sleep, raising a teenage daughter, and caring for his ailing father, Officer Marshall struggles to remind himself there's no such thing as werewolves. The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
This is scary. It's new. I never saw a body like that.
There's going to be a lot of late nights and overtime because of the brutal murder that happened in town. And I didn't want to set up expectations that I can't keep.
Our expectations of you are very low. Spans the bites were gigantic, same as the distance of the paw prints.
It's a wolf. Or maybe it's a werewolf.
Where were you? Where were you? John, none of you talk to me at once, okay? They're saying it's a wolf. No, it's a man. When do I get to be right about something?
You want to be sheriff? How about we start acting like one?
Oh, we have been singing the praises of Jim Cummings since Thunder Road a few years ago.
Right.
Love his style. And, you know, anybody that saw Thunder Road, you would think to yourself, isn't this movie just a rewrite of Thunder Road with werewolves? And the answer is, yes, it is. And there's no problem with that.
No, why not? It is. If you've seen Thunder Road, you have kind of already seen this movie, but it's so much fun with werewolves
It's
in
so
it.
much fun.
Also, I want to give myself credit for seeing that comment about lawyers waiting till the exact right moment and then popping it up on the screen.
Yes.
Right when Robert
Well
Forreston
done. We haven't
said the
used
line.
this for a few months, and we
Clearly.
had a couple dry runs here earlier today, and you've got it down. Very nimble over there. But we love the way he writes, and this one visually is a step up. He clearly has a bigger budget. Also, it's Robert Forster in his final performance. Also, Ricki Lindholm.
She was great.
Who plays the deputy there. She is fantastic, and this movie is so much fun and funny in the way Jim Cummings' humor is absolutely on par with Katie says with hers. And if you are tied into that sort of humor, then you'll just find this irresistible as we did.
Also, I mean, blood looks so great on snow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is it just me?
No, not at all.
I love the way blood looks on snow.
Yeah, and any werewolf movie I'm down with. And this was just a blast, even though it was pretty much of a rewrite of Thunder Road. That's okay because you're going to throw in werewolves and make it fun. And it's a fun, scary story. I mean, there's killing, there's blood, as you say, all over the snow, and it's just a lot of fun. And I do think when it came out, it did seem like it got a decent amount of eyeballs.
Yeah, I mean, nobody saw anything this year.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
everything is underseen, every single thing. So if you haven't seen this one, I think of all the ones on the list, this seems like the likeliest one to just be a crowd pleaser. It's just hilarious and also scary.
It's just a blast. That is The Wolf of Snow Hollow, and that is the number 4. Yeah, number 4. Getting ahead of myself. All right, number 3. Let's stick with the werewolf theme, shall we?
Monty, we're way ahead of you.
Children liberated from a Nazi concentration camp have to overcome hunger, thirst, and vicious dogs in an abandoned mansion surrounded by the forest. This is Werewolf.
Nie uciekniesz, gdzie się schowasz? Nie zamykaj!
I remember you saw this first, and you just came out of it just blown away.
Yeah, I really was. I was expecting something entirely different, and I was not disappointed by what I wound up getting. So it's a concentration camp. That's where you start off. It's a Lord of the Flies kind of a film because you're basically you're with this small group of like a dozen children who've been freed from a concentration camp, but they've just been moved to this abandoned mansion where they're just kind of being left, and Russians may or may not bring them food, may or may not bring them additional danger, and people just go missing or go dead when they get out into the woods. And so they believe that it's a werewolf. People talk a lot about werewolves. So there's a supernatural element to it, but on the whole, that's not really what it is. It's a war movie, but the thing that I love so much about it is that the filmmaker, Adrian Panik, has a much more optimistic view of children than a lot of films do. It's magnificently filmed. it's a riveting watch. I just loved it.
Yeah, and it's also one that you could probably tell from the trailer there if you haven't seen it. It's dark. I mean, the complexion is dark, but it is still very, very visually fascinating.
It is,
even though it is dark in its shading in the movie, but it just makes it all the more atmospheric. And I think it's the only foreign language film on our list here?
Oh my God, is it?
Without giving too much
How
away.
How weird would that be?
I think it is, and that is Werewolf, number 3, best of 2020.
Top two.
Holy moly, we're there already, and this is another one that we got to see first at Nightmares Film Festival. That is definitely a theme, and why not? This one goes back a little ways, and it is the story of Hunter, a newly pregnant housewife who finds herself increasingly compelled to consume dangerous objects. As her husband and his family tighten their control over her life, she must confront the dark secret behind her new obsession. It's Swallow.
So what did you do for money before you met my son?
Retail, mostly.
A lucky break.
I'm just real grateful.
How does it make you feel when you swallow something?
I just like the textures in my mouth. It made me feel in control. I just wanted to make you happy.
You get back here with my kid!
I did something unexpected today.
God, this was a great movie.
And Haley Bennett is so great in this movie.
She's
also
perfect.
one of the producers.
Yeah.
So I think she was really had a hand in getting this done. And the writer-director is Carlo Mirabella Davis.
Yeah.
And it's such a great story. It's a character study.
Yeah.
And her arc is tied in with this affliction called pica.
Yep.
Is that correct? And it's hand in glove with the control that she has over her life. That's the only bit of control that she can muster in these things that she swallows, because in every other way, her husband and her husband's family they just treat her like a thing.
So much of the movie, I think, visually recalls Hitchcock, which I think is interesting.
Yes.
So it's Hitchcock and
Yes.
Hitchcock's Blondes, only sort of the opposite of that. And as the movie goes along, and you leave this sort of beautiful gilded cage, that she lives in, and she physically starts to change, and the movie takes on a different look and a different feel. I think that you really get a sense of what Haley Bennett brings to this character. Her performance is just spectacular from the very beginning. It reminded me a lot of the movie Safe with Julianne Moore in that sort of like overly perfect way of doing everything, of living, of being like a housewife, and the way that devolves. Only to me, this one, first of all, also because it's a horror film, so it devolves in a much more, for me, interesting way. But it does. I mean, the road that this takes, I thought, was really interesting and very satisfying.
And I think you bring up Hitchcock, I think that is right on. Reminded me of Marnie in a way, especially the hysterical female, especially as you mentioned, the blonde. But this one takes a different... It has a Hitchcock feel about it, but yet it does its own thing. And I thought it was very, very effective and just a tremendous performance. Best thing I've seen Haley Bennett do.
And and she's good. She's
yeah,
consistently good. But yeah, this was just the role that was made for her.
Yeah, and she's had. I forgot about the small part that she had in The Devil All the Time.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic ensemble, and she was also in Hillbilly Elegy. But we'll just leave that out. We just won't. We just won't mention
she was
that.
the only thing we're seeing.
Yeah, Katie says Safe is so good. We got to see that a few years ago. They had
at the Wexner Center
print
for the
at the
Arts.
Wexner Center
so
because
great.
I don't know if is it as still hard to see as it was then, because that was a few years ago, and they were lucky to get, and that was not a good print, if you recall, not a good print at all. But
it's a great movie, though.
Yeah, it is. So if you can check that out, do it. Same with Swallow. Okay, that is number 2, and that leaves us a room for only one at the top. And it's a film that follows an agent who works for a secretive organization that uses brain implant technology to inhabit other people's bodies, ultimately driving them to commit assassinations for high-paying clients. It's Possessor, or Possessor Uncut.
Our next contract's a big one. The target is the CEO of the largest operation in the U.S. He'll be binding to Colin Tate. We can't afford any mistakes on this one.
Finish this. What are you doing?
I can't pull the trigger. I need to know
I need to know what she's done to me.
It's become a danger.
Where is she?
Sometimes that small thought is all it takes to lose control.
This is the latest from writer-director Brandon Cronenberg, so the body horror is very well earned.
Yeah, he doesn't. His apple didn't fall very far from that tree, did it?
And this
Holy
one stars
cow.
a couple of other people that have had very good years. Andrea Riseborough.
Oh, yeah, my gosh,
who was
he's
always good.
glorious.
And then Christopher Abbott.
He did
He's
have a
one of
good
those
year. He has had a
guys
good
that
year.
maybe a lot of people don't know his name, but he's been popping up in a lot more things. He, of course, was in this. He was in Black Bear that we saw at Nightmares.
Yep.
So he's had a good year as well. And this was, man, this is bloody. This is original. And boy, you talk about a gut punch. It gives you a gut punch at the end that lands hard. We don't want to give anything away, but it's one that it goes places a lot of movies do not.
Yes, it absolutely does. And one of the things that I thought, first of all, you know, if you can get Andrea Riseborough in your movie, you just should. Whatever part she wants, just give it to her because she's amazing. But one of the reasons that this movie works as well as it does is because the two leads, if you don't count Christopher Abbott because he's the Avatar, but I mean, Andrea Riseborough and then Jennifer Jason Leigh plays her boss, right? And they're criminals. It's a hitman, and a hitman's boss is essentially what this is, except for the, you know, very Cronenberg method. That is essentially what the story is. And if it had been your traditional males, if either one of them had been a male, but the fact that both of them are female means everything in this movie. It changes everything about this movie. And I also thought that I was really impressed by all of the minor performances as well. All of the smaller characters. Sean Bean,
yeah.
Just in a couple of scenes, he was great. And I don't want to give anything away, but he doesn't die. What? Sean Bean does not die in a movie. That's crazy.
Yeah, but some of the body horror, as we mentioned, is very graphic. As they get really in close there about how these implants are implanted and the method that they go about doing that. But it's so startling. Pieces of it will remind you of other films, but at the same time, to me, it felt very original.
Yeah.
Very original.
Yeah, I thought it was really fresh. And yeah, Chris Abbott was also, you're right, Rachel, was so
Piercing.
good in Piercing.
Yes.
And in
Thank
It
you.
Comes at Night. He was great in It Comes at Night
That's
as well.
right.
I mean, he's just always good.
Yeah.
And so is Andrea Riseborough, and really so is Jennifer Jason Leigh. I mean, so is everybody in this movie. And it is a very, very Cronenberg film. And if you haven't seen Brandon Cronenberg's first film, which is Antiviral, that's also very much worth watching. And it's another one. It's a sci-fi film that's got a lot of body horror in it. It's going to remind you tremendously of David Cronenberg. But I do think that he does something. You know, he's taking ideas that even his father, right? I mean, he's taking ideas that are fairly common and that you expect from him, and yet he's doing something with it that's totally fresh and that you don't see what's coming. The whole film, Possessor, is a sleight of hand. You ought to see what's coming. He's told you the whole way through what's coming, and you absolutely don't. You have no idea what this movie is going to do.
This is one that I would describe as an experience.
Yes.
Is watching this movie, and it's a rough one too. So if you haven't seen it, just be ready. But boy, it's worth it, and it's our number one.
I open this review with damn.
Damn. And that is our number one horror flick of 2020, Possessor Uncut. So, boy, we've talked about a bunch of movies, this top 10, and then ones that we love that didn't make the top 10. So, boy, we've had some great comments tonight, but keep them coming. We always love to keep this going on the Twitter page. That's easy. You can find us at Fright Club Pod, also on the Facebook page and Instagram page. It's Mad Wolf Columbus, and the main website is madwolf.com. So thank you again to Gateway Film Center for also streaming this. We've had a lot of fun. Fantastic turnout. Great comments. We appreciate that, as we always do. Love our Fright Clubbers. And as we said, can't wait till we get back live in front of the crowd. Hi, Tyrone. Appreciate you. Looking ahead to next time, we are going to have a special guest, an author.
Yes, Haley Piper, who wrote cosmic horror called The Worm and His Kings. That's a great title.
That is a great title.
I just started reading it yesterday. And she's going to join us, and we're going to do a podcast on cosmic horror. So that is what is next up. And in the meantime, do us a favor, please. Go watch Godspeed and tell us what you thought.
Yes. Appreciate that. So we look forward to hearing from you, whichever way you want to reach out. Can't thank you enough for stopping by. Yeah, we'll get together soon, just as soon as we can for sure. Looking ahead to better days in 2021. Yeah, Tom and Seth, everybody saying we miss you guys. We miss you too.
Yeah, we do.
Can't wait to get back together. So appreciate it again. And until next time, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club Podcast.
Hi, this is Ruckus Sky. And Lane Sky. We're the writer and directors of The Devil to Pay. Stay frightful, my friend.